Unsyndicated presents What the Puck with Sean Belegian.
Welcome to another edition of us, talking about a great product that's out there, MHSAA Hockey. We thank our friends with the Michigan High School Hockey Coaches Association, and this is what we call the proven path. Every single year, there are more and more MHSAA hockey players that move on to the next level and beyond, and a big reason for that, of course, is the coaches in this great state. Our guest tonight, of course, he is the head coach of the Livonia Red Stallions. He's been around the game forever. Point blank, Mike, I can tell you he's a Livonia guy, and I've known him since he was this tall. I don't know if he wants to admit that, but really, I've known him since he was that tall. But let's welcome him in, the head man of the Livonia Red Stallions. He is Jason Reynolds. Jay, it's a pleasure to chat with you again, my friend. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's a perfect time to do it. I'm in full off-season mode here right now. I am in a little place called Bemis Point, New York. It is right off the shore of Chautauqua Lake. For those who have no idea where that is, it's just outside a little town called Jamestown, which is about I'd say about 40 minutes east of Erie, Pennsylvania, and maybe an hour south of Buffalo. They used to have a North American Hockey League team here, the Jamestown Rebels, and they just recently, in the last couple of years, moved to Philadelphia. But they know their hockey here, and so it's a beautiful day outside. The kids are fishing, so it's quiet in this cottage that I'm staying in right now. So perfect time to tune in and chat with you. I appreciate the time.
That's great. Thanks again for joining us. And let's just get started. As Sean said, the proven pathway wouldn't be that pathway without guys like you, these coaches. So let's get right to it. And what was your pathway to high school hockey? How did you end up coaching in Livonia?
So, boy, I grew up, as Sean alluded to, I was born and raised in Livonia. And as a matter of fact, Sean and I, as we were coming up in Livonia, I think we were direct witness to what I would consider a real boom period for the city of Livonia. At the time, for a while there were 4 high schools operating varsity hockey in the city of Livonia. One of those schools closed down in the 80s, but even still, Livonia, Stevenson, Churchill, and Franklin at one point all had 2,000 kids in their building. And quite frankly, it didn't matter which high school you went to. You were going to be on a competitive hockey team. The youth association there, the Livonia Hockey Association, is one of the largest youth programs in the state. They're still competitive today. It's a little different now, but it's, hockey overall has been a passion sport for Livonia residents for, I would say, decades. And it's one of those tight-knit communities where I think players that are coming up through the youth ranks in Livonia aspire to make one of those high school teams. And so I think it's always been that way. Obviously, the landscape is changing a little bit. Overall student enrollment in the city of Livonia is different than what it was back then. And so this, in my case with the Red Stallions, this was the first year, this past year in 23-24, where we combined Churchill and Franklin together to make one roster. Still a desirable place to play. We had a great season, needless to say, made a run to the regional finals. So there's still plenty of talent here. But it's, my path in was, quite frankly, I started out coaching when I was 21 years old, probably had very little business getting started that young, but I cut my teeth and they threw me in the deep end of the pool right away. From there, I coached, I think, all ages through the youth, through the youth hockey community, and then eventually jumped on and was proud to serve with both Dave Mitchell and Jerry Vento as an assistant coach at Livonia Stevenson. And then spent one season as an assistant coach under Jerry Vento at Plymouth. And then lo and behold, the Churchill job opened up when Pete Mazzoni decided to retire back after the 11-12 season. And I came aboard as head coach in 2012, 2013, and have been there since. And as I mentioned, the unification, if you will, of Churchill and Franklin just took place this past year. And so I believe this will be my 12th season in Livonia High School hockey. So I've had a lot of good people around me. I've actually been blessed with a lot of great people around me to kind of support me as I've gotten acclimated from youth hockey into high school hockey. And the experience has been tremendous. And there's a lot to love about our high school hockey community, really across the state. And I'm sure we'll talk about a lot of that stuff. But that's been my pathway, and it's been incredibly rewarding.
Jason, you know what? Let's start with what you had to endure last year. And I remember talking to you at the media day for the KLAA. It isn't easy when you have to bring together in the same room a bunch of guys that go to different schools that have probably played each other for many, many years. And the way the team came together, it was a really cool story this year. Can you talk about it from your vantage point? I mean, who had a better view of it than you and Coach Vento, after all?
Yeah, no, it's true. So I believe in May of 2023, there were meetings at both schools. Our athletic director at Churchill pulled us into a room with the Churchill team, and then the athletic director, Dusty Hall at Franklin, pulled his group together over at Franklin. And from what I understand, it was two very different conversations. Whereas, at Churchill, we said, we've seen this coming for a number of years, and there's been a lot of chatter about, as enrollment changes in the city of Livonia, that there may be an opportunity to put two of these programs together just to make a more healthy program and a healthy outlook. At Churchill, I think it was, hey, this is a great opportunity. This is something we may want to consider. There was a lot of idea sharing around the room. I think at Franklin, at least at that time, and to nobody's fault, in fairness, I mean, there's things in our community, obviously, we can't control. Enrollment is obviously one of those. But I think at Franklin, it was a little bit more mission critical, is to say, hey, if we don't take this step, we don't know what may come out of November. And to the credit of, everybody on our side, I think everybody was open to the idea pretty quickly. And I have to keep reminding myself that we were very blessed in that instance, because as you guys mentioned, it could have been, I have to keep reminding myself, it could have been a lot worse when you have rivalries coming together to, form one program. There could have been a lot of hostility. There could have been a lack of trust, so on and so forth. And I've never been a huge advocate of summer hockey, but we happen to be signing up for a summer league, or the guys were anyway. We're signing up for a summer hockey league right around that time. And the captains immediately stood up and said, well, should we invite the Franklin kids out to join us? And one thing led to another, and all of a sudden we had this full roster, and they seemed to hit it off right away. I mean, it was pretty short work. And, there's something to be said about all of them coming up in the same city. I'm sure a lot of them played together, but, you draw those alliances once you get into those buildings. But it was good. It was a really productive thing. I think Jerry and I wanted to establish right away that, look, this isn't a Churchill versus Franklin thing anymore. We're the Stallions. We are one program. We came up with rules to establish that culture right away. No Churchill spirit gear in the locker room. No Franklin spirit gear in the locker room. It's Stallions all the way, and let's unify these guys early on. And to their credit, I mean, they took to it pretty quickly. So I think the outlook, the outlook is good. I suspect that the numbers between the two buildings are going to, are probably going to level out. They'll probably fluctuate from time to time. There'll suddenly be a big influx one year, and we'll, wherever they land, that's okay. But I think this is going to be, I think it's going to be a good thing moving forward. You don't want to have that extra short bench, especially in high school hockey, as competitive as it is. And you want to be able to bring, young guys up the right way. So I think it was a move that it was timed for it to happen. And overall, I think it was worthwhile. Now it's something that our guys are really taking pride in being a part of this program.
Well, that's great. And now this gets right into my next question. It's something I've been asking all the coaches. And with your experience, you had 12 years, and then you jump in a new experience with this Unified. As you look at high school hockey in Michigan as it is, if you had one thing you could change or add on to make this a better game, to get more eyes on our kids, to push more kids to juniors, what would that be?
Oh boy, great question. In all fairness, I will say I think some of that stuff is starting to happen already. Obviously, we have great outlets in terms of media coverage, the State Champs Network, and some of the great things that are happening in the midst of the season. And now, of course, we have this off-season product here as well. But I think also one of the things that's happening is there seems to be an increase of quality events that are happening throughout the season where scouts and coaches from junior and college programs have an opportunity to really go all over the state and get a taste of all the different types of things that are out there. It felt like for a period of time, it was just the MIHL showcase in Trenton, and then there was the public showcase in Chelsea. And now you're getting some other quality events that are starting to pop up as well. We put the MIHL KLAA Showdown event at Eddie Edgar Arena in Livonia together, which, I mean, for any scout or any coach that wants to come out and see, arguably two of the top high school hockey leagues in the state go at each other, throughout a marathon day. I mean, what a great event to see some quality high school hockey. But now you have some other ones. You have the MAC Showcase. You have the North-South Showcase that's starting up in northern Michigan. And I mean, those are really competitive quality events, and you get a little bit of everything from all over the state. And Sean knows full well. I mean, it's the talent is spread out, and I hate to use the cliche statement that's been around for years, but yeah, there is more here. And you just, now there are these new opportunities to find those things. One of the things I think is a constant necessity, at least from us as coaches, is making sure that we are educating the young kids coming into high school who may be interested in high school hockey but don't know really that proven path that we spoke about. They may not know about the Michigan Developmental Hockey League, and quite frankly, how many quality players they've moved from that program into some higher levels of hockey. They may not know about what Ricky Gadwa is doing at TPH. They may not know about, Team Michigan that goes to Minnesota every year at the end of the season, and what a high exposure event that is. There are certainly bubbles, in our community, and youth hockey has its own bubble as well. But I think there's always going to be a need for us as coaches to make sure we're educating the people that are coming into our buildings so they're aware that, hey, high school hockey is a great product. And you may have heard about, what else is out there, year in, year out. And that's the narrative that's being taught. But one of the things I love about high school hockey is just what a sense of community there is, not just within our building, but the sense of community statewide amongst all of the coaches and amongst all the leaders and the administrators. We all want to move our high school athletes on. And it doesn't matter if Dave Mitchell from Livonia Stevenson comes across as a crosstown rival and says, hey, I have somebody that, I'm trying to move on. Can you make a phone call? Can you vouch for him? We all want to move our guys on. And I can get that same level of support from rivals within our league as well. So at the end of the day, I mean, there really is this supportive community that we're all kind of surrounded by, we're all involved in, and we all just want to make this product better. So to answer your question, I know it's a long-winded answer, but to answer your question, I think there's a continuous need for education, making sure we continue having this conversation about that proven path and what opportunities are out there. It's not just 25 games and 6 playoff games. It is much more, and there are high exposure opportunities, and the proof is there. We have players that have plenty of players that have moved on. We see the announcements all the time. And like I said, I think our product just keeps getting better.
Jason, don't worry about being long-winded. More of you and less of us is a good thing, okay? I don't think anybody out there is going to complain. We got your fan club here. Ben Zalagi talks about what a great job you do. Jeff Hatley said Jason is a good one for sure. I can vouch for that. Jason Reynolds, of course, head coach of the Livonia Red Stallions. I want to go back to something that you just said because I think I've been pounding the drum on this. I love that in recent years we're seeing more of these showcases coming because one of the cool things, and guys, and I know guys from my years of working in other hockey programs, I'm starting to see more scouts at these events. And the coolest thing about these scouts at these events is they'll walk up to you and go, hey, can you tell me about this kid from Byron Center, from Forest Hills NE? Can you tell me about this kid from Houghton? And the good news is now you can see them at a lot of these events. It isn't just about coming down to Trenton. I mean, it's the granddaddy of them all.
Sure.
Tip of the cap, we all know it. But now there's more and more of these opportunities to see that water bug of a centerman that plays for you, or to see somebody that is playing for Salem, whatever the case may be. And I really want to emphasize that because the concerted effort, Jason, has been there. And guess what? If you can go, these guys are going to find you. You hear the scouts say it time and time again. And that's why so many guys from the MHSAA are now moving on to a lot of places.
No doubt. And I think it's the collective effort of everybody involved. And a tip of the hat to the work that you and John Kidd do with the State Champs Network. That's an opportunity that isn't necessarily offered, with the alternative product. If you're involved in a local association, or maybe you're on the tier 1 side or what have you, I mean, that's just exposure that you can't necessarily find anywhere else. And you guys do a great job of covering the entire state. The coaches work collectively together to highlight those top players. And I think it's just, like I said, I think the progress that's been made is really, it's really through collaboration. And I think everybody every year is anxious to come back to the table, during our coaches association meetings and say, okay, guys, what's next? We're making a lot of great headway here. What else can we do? How else can we get involved? And even as new leaders rotate into those coaches association meetings, and they run for the board and things of that sort, new ideas start to emerge. And, it's just, it's a treat to see this thing come to fruition, especially in the time that we're in, where social media there's such an instant reaction, an instant gratification to all of those things, and the coverage that we get. I mean, it's really awesome. And I think it's just going to continue to grow. I mean, we're getting more involved in live streaming now, and hockey analytics, and some of the things we're able to do with technology partners behind the scenes now is really incredible. So the access to information that a lot of these outside, again, coaches and scouts and what have you, the access to the information they have, I mean, we're making it easier for them, and that's a good thing. And it's good for these students that are coming up.
Hell, we want to do a game a week, Jason. Yeah. That's our goal now. We want to go all over the state and do a game a week. So keep that in the back of your head.
Absolutely.
You were talking about educating the kids, the parents, on what's out there, especially on that path on the way out. And you had one just open up right in our back door here at Schoolcraft College. They grabbed one of your fine senior this year, Landon Burnt, a kid that I know a lot about. How big is that, do you believe, that program, that ACHA program opening up right there in Livonia, going to be for moving some kids on from Livonia?
Well, I think it's just a great local opportunity for some of these talented players to play some college hockey. And boy, I mean, anybody should be proud and excited to play for a class act like Dan Phelps. Dan, who is one of the former Livonia Franklin coaches, and he's always been supportive, not just of myself, but I mean, he's been supportive of all of the coaches that have come through Livonia, as well as in the KLAA. I mean, he is such an ambassador for our game, and his resume speaks for itself. So I mean, anybody that goes to a program like Schoolcraft College is going to get a great experience under his wisdom, under his guidance. And I mean, sky's the limit for that program. I think it's an exciting time, this relaunch of this program. And yeah, Landon Burt is a great pickup for him. He's a tenacious player. He was one of our top defensemen over the last couple of years. Plays with a bit of an edge, but boy, I have so many highlights of so many incredible plays that Landon has made over the years, and a great student athlete too. He's got a good foundation behind him, great family, and I expect him to excel there. He's going to do great. No, I think all those guys are going to do great. So it's an exciting time at Schoolcraft and in Livonia.
You know what? I think I can say for certain, no doubt about it, we're all in the Coach Phelps fan club, and his enthusiasm is awesome. I had the opportunity of doing an event at Schoolcraft with Darren McCarty, and we asked Coach Phelps to come out and talk about it. His enthusiasm is great. And Jason, to your point, I think a lot of times, there's no development that's the same. Everybody develops differently, and sure. Giving some of these guys, especially maybe some of these young defensemen, the old adage is sometimes it takes a defenseman a little longer. Giving these guys an opportunity to develop their game, who knows where they take this? This could just be a rest stop as we've seen for so many players in the state, is to go here and then there and then there. And it's an exciting thing. And I think it's a win for the entire hockey community. Yeah,
no doubt. I think one of the most important things really to educate, especially the young players on coming into our community, coming into high school hockey, is that, it is okay to be patient. We've had some great partners come through at our coaching clinics that we attend, like Sean Hogan at College Hockey Inc., who has come in and given us some good facts about just the reality of, those guys that want to go on to college hockey. It's okay to be patient. It's okay to, as many of the coaches say, trust the process, and just understand that, yes, that pathway can work for you. It doesn't necessarily have to be instant gratification. You don't have to make the immediate leap from your senior year into D1. You can go the North American Hockey League way. You can go to the USHL. That then the NCAA maybe next after that. But it's important for guys to understand too. And in our case in Livonia, we don't have the luxury of JV or prep hockey. We never have. So I've probably, more so than the other ones, I would dare to say I've probably been the one that has thrown more freshmen into the deep end than most would like to admit. But we had a championship run at Churchill several years back that was built on the back of 5 freshmen. Yeah. And what's interesting about thinking about those guys is that, boy, the physical specimens that they started out as were nowhere near who they ended up being when they were juniors and seniors. The one that immediately comes to mind is Seth Kucharczyk. Seth was a small, kind of lanky freshman that didn't skate all that well his freshman year, but we took him and we thought, he's going to be a project. We're going to hopefully bring this guy along. And the magic dust seems to be somewhere in that summer of the sophomore year. All of a sudden they grow into this new human being. And, but that development, even that physical development, happens at different rates at different times and at different paces. And so guys just need to be patient with that, because as you said, they may come into their own and they may really start to hit that peak or that next level later on in their high school career. So it's important to get ingrained in your culture. It's important to be patient with your overall development. Again, trust the process, and things can come to fruition. So I'm very very knowledgeable about bringing those guys in early and bringing them up, and trying to preach patience to these guys, and just know that if you're willing to put the work in, the opportunities are there for you. And as you said, if you're good enough, those next level guys will find you.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the 2018 run, because I'm seeing some similarities here, and what a run it was. As an alumni, I was there, I was following them. I was all about Churchill, but that run came after the year before you had a little bit of a disappointing loss in the playoffs. And I saw an interview that you had, and you said, we're going to be seasoned and we're going to be ready next year. We have some returners. This sounds very similar to the team you have right now. I think you might have wanted to go a little bit further after that Allen Park win in the playoffs this year. You're returning your top 2 scorers. What's in store for Livonia Stallions hockey this year?
Yeah, I think we're coming into an exciting time with the Stallions club. I mean, when we put the 2 groups together last year, I think we had a roster of about 24 players, and primarily sophomores and juniors. And now they're getting a little bit older, and it's in recent memory, I think this is going to be one of the largest senior classes that we've had in a while. I mean, bringing guys like Bryce Brown and Caleb Curto and Michael Williamson back, who play just such an exciting style, and provided that they stay healthy and continue to provide the leadership that they have up to this point, I think there's exciting things ahead. And yeah, it is a little bit reminiscent, I guess, of the 2018 run. That was a special group, and I think what applied to them really just needs to apply this year. And I feel very optimistic about this year in this sense, because I preached to them back in 2018 about the importance of culture and how the culture you keep is ultimately going to determine the level of success that you have in the stretch run. And we harped on that for a number of years, and by the time those guys were seniors, they were fully bought in. And it was one of those programs that you kind of hear about. It was very much a player-led program by that point. We didn't have to say much. I dare say, I mean, our captains were vocal, and they were motivating, and they were bought into the younger guys that were in the program. We'll have some young guys on this team, but there will be a lot of senior and junior presence there who I think have, quite frankly, I think based on their experience, they've learned from the mistakes of others. Not every leader, or not everybody that you expect to be a leader, is always a great one. But I think these guys have had an opportunity to learn from the mistakes of others. We have a great team captain in Ethan Slazak, who's just a model citizen as far as a student athlete goes, and really represents our program well. And you can tell that he garners respect in our locker room. And so he, along with Caleb Curto and Bryce Brown, and we have a really dynamic junior coming up by the name of Tyler Pagel. It's one of our really all around seasoned wingers. And then, we have some guys that are going to be a little bit a year older. They're going to be a little bit more seasoned. We had a young freshman by the name of Quinn Pasco in between our pipes all year long. And he, I would dare say, he made some saves he had no business making last year. And so now that he's invested, and now that he sees what this can be, he is really dedicated this off season. And I know he's really trying to polish his craft and really get himself ready for his sophomore run. So yeah, I'm excited about what's to come. I'm excited about this returning lineup that we have. We'll need to fill some positions, of course, as you always do. But yeah, it's an optimistic outlook this year. But we're in the KLAA, so it's going to be all hands on deck, no doubt.
Well, you read my mind there, and I know what side of the fence you sit on. Go green. Coach Izzo forever has played the battle-tested schedule. And, a lot of times it's not the regular season record that Spartan fans want, but more often than not, we've seen them ready to take those runs. And Jason, I look at what you did in 2018, and certainly to a lesser extent last year, and you just touched on it. Listen, playing in a conference like the KLAA, arguably the number 2 conference out there, we can have that debate at some other point in time. It's cliche, but it's true. You can't take a night off. There's always somebody that is waiting to come up and bite you. It doesn't matter. Go up and down the KLA. There's always somebody that can get you on every given night.
No question. And I think I've mentioned it to you in previous conversations. It's always funny when we get into some of these interviews at the beginning of a season, whether it's on media night or even just some of the side interviews that we have with local media in our area, where we talk about the outlook for the upcoming season. And when you have a KLAA schedule, there's no such thing as like a cupcake schedule. There's no such thing as a cupcake season. It's always going to be tough. We always have battle-tested opponents in our respective league with great coaches that are leading the charge, and we always have to be prepared to be, on our best game. And one of the things we preach as a philosophy with the Stallions is, look, regardless of what the overall record may be, again, kind of coming back to that whole idea of trusting the process. Yeah, you're probably gonna hit some sharp edges coming down this mountain as we're trying to get to the postseason. But if we can stay healthy, if we can stay engaged, and regardless of wins and losses, and in the locker room we say we don't win and lose, we win and learn. As long as we stay engaged and the mission remains the same and we don't deviate from that, by the time we get to the postseason, you're going to be as battle tested as you could possibly ask for to go on that postseason run. And I dare say, I think we've been very fortunate over the last several years. We've been in a lot of regional finals. A couple of them we've certainly won. A couple of them we've been within a goal. A couple of them we've had some real battles along the way. But I think we've been able to extend our playoff run based on that overall experience. And so I think this year for us, it's going to be no different. And I would much rather have a 15-10 team, or dare I say a 14-11 team that, is battle tested for the postseason than go 20-7 and get knocked out in round one. You want to try to build this thing for the long run. And from a scheduling standpoint, I think that's been kind of the philosophy for us in getting our calendar together for 24-25. So, I'm excited about it. I think we've got a lot of work ahead of us, but optimistic outlook, no doubt about it.
I'm going to give you the final word, pal.
I was going to say, I believe, unless there was a misprint, the 2018 team finished 11-11 and went on quite a run there. So sticking with the schedule, we know who'll be on that KLAA schedule. Any teams outside of the division that you're going to be playing that are going to be must-see games that we have got to get out there?
Oh, that's a great question. This is news to us in our world. There was a period of time while I was at Churchill that for one reason or another, we just weren't taking team trips, either to the west side or up north or things of that sort. I have my own conspiracy theory as to why that is. I think maybe a previous team before my time might have ruined it for everybody. But since then, now, people have warmed up to it now in our building now. And so I think we are looking towards potentially heading west, maybe to the Grand Rapids area. We're trying to finalize a game with Grand Rapids Catholic Central, which is always always a competitive opponent. I have to give credit to the folks at the Chelsea Showcase, because I don't think we have ever had a bad experience at the Chelsea Showcase. They do such a tremendous job of properly matching us up, win or lose, properly matching us up against quality opponents. Beyond that, I think for the first time in a while, we're going to go to Lake Orion. We're looking at potentially going even further west to West Ottawa. Former Charger Tommy Carey is coaching that team, so I think we're going to head over to the Holland area and compete with those guys. So we've changed up our non-season schedule a little bit, and then there'll be a couple that will fall into place with the showcases and what have you. So we're excited. We want to make sure that we're not taking a night off, to be very honest with you. So I'm excited.
Man, road trip potential, right?
Yep.
The Red Stallions and Mike Slobodnik and the Cougs. That sounds like a road trip.
I like it. I'm just hoping that it wasn't my 1989 Churchill team that ruined it for everybody.
I'm sure it was. People that didn't know him, I'm sure it was. He's a mature guy here, but I remember that idiot. Jason, you remember this idiot as well, so keep your thoughts to yourself. But seriously, hey, man, continued success to you guys. I think you've done a great job for a long time, and I'm really excited about this team. The noise you guys made at the end of the year, and you mentioned Quinn Pasco. He was fun to watch. It's going to be really, really exciting to see what is in store for you guys in 24-25. Really appreciate you taking the time, bud.
Absolutely. And thank you guys sincerely for everything you guys do for our high school hockey community. I know you guys hear it a lot, but quite frankly, I don't think all of us can say it nearly enough. It just adds to the quality of the experience that all of these student athletes have. And, obviously it makes our job easier because we can talk about what a quality product we have. And that's, it's a tip of the hat to you guys as well, and the coverage you guys provide. We're really grateful for that. So if you don't hear it enough, thank you very, very much.
No, appreciate that, bud. It's certainly our pleasure. Jason Reynolds kindly joining us, of course, the head coach of the Red Stallions. Go back and enjoy some time with your family. What a great guy. He's out there on vacation and everything, and he's giving us idiots some time, right?
I like that. Sends the kids fishing and then comes on inside and gives us some time to talk high school hockey. I love it.
Isn't that great? Hey, again, thanks to Coach Reynolds. Most importantly, thanks to you. There is a proven path. Jason talked about some of the guys that moved on. There's so many good things going on in this great state of Michigan. Certainly the Red Stallions are one of those stories. For my pal, Mike Iavasile, I'm Sean Belegian. Until next week, thanks so much for joining us here.
What the Puck, featuring Sean Belegian. Produced by Todd Losey and Blake Matrazek. Executive produced by Sean Belegian and Todd Losey. Theme song and incidental music by Elliot Middleton. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe to What the Puck on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Got something to say to Sean? Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.